Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Popcorn Square. I am your host, Kage, with
Neff.
And Buttons.
and today we're going to talk about The Last Dance. So in today's episode, we are talking about a few things here. Got to talk about Venom 3 coming out. We're also going to talk a little bit about Kraven, a movie that's not really getting a lot of headway out there in the media. We're going to talk about Penguin, and we're also going to talk about October's movies with Halloween movies. What are some good Halloween movies for you guys? But let's get into it. So our first topic here, we're talking about Venom 3. Now, Venom 3 is kind of a mixed bag. You have some people that say they're over it, didn't like the first movie, and you got some people who are like, I'll see it. I'm more in the camp of, I'll see it. I'll check it out. Looks like a good time. I like Tom Hardy. I like the effects on it. I won't lie to you folks, I haven't seen the second one. I missed out, not because I didn't want to, just had other stuff going on. But I'm definitely going to stream that so I can get up to speed in the story. I'd say my only complaint about the Venom series, not the character, but the series, is that it's not rated R. I feel like if you're going to do a real Venom movie, a movie with Carnage, because I know Carnage is in the second one, I feel like it has to be rated R. I mean, come on, Hollywood. You didn't bend a knee, and you let Deadpool be rated R, and look what happened. You literally made $1 billion in just that movie alone. We're not even talking about the Deadpool franchise of the movies, plural. I'm just talking about Deadpool Wolverine. So I promise you folks, if you make a rated R Venom movie with Carnage, it's going to make money. It's going to put butts in seats, and I will be there day one. So if any producers are listening, I will watch it. And I know many other people would be in that camp with me. But yeah, I think this is going to be a good time. I'm not really looking into it being a real deep, thought-provoking movie. I'm just kind of looking at it for what it is. It's just a good time. Tom Hardy, always a good actor. Venom in this light is kind of I say it lightly, like there's a comedic aspect.
Yes.
He's not dropping one-liners. It's not like Adam Sandler, like it's not like that, but it's its own.
He kind of, to me, like, and I always liked his character, like going, when he was, even from when he was first introduced, he's an alien. And
Yeah.
so certain concepts are foreign to him, like he doesn't understand, and that I think is where some of the comedy comes into play.
Yeah.
Because he's like, why can I not just eat this person?
Yeah.
Like I need sustenance. Let me just eat them. And that's where like the comedy comes in, is because he doesn't understand. It's like how Earth works. It's kind of like I don't get it. Just let me do what I want to do.
And just to add on to that, I think what the other aspect of Venom as a character that I like is, things are foreign to him, but also things are not a concern to him as they would be to a normal person.
He doesn't have that moral,
No, absolutely not.
Because Tom Hardy's character, he's like, no, you can't just go around killing me. He's like, why not?
Yeah,
And that morality isn't there for Venom.
And one of my favorite parts in the first movie where Eddie Brock is gonna jump off a building, and he says, and Venom's like, I got you. Like, just do it. And he stands up there and he runs to the edge like Neo on his first jump, like he's about to do it. And then it shows him going down the stairs, and you can hear Venom going, pussy.
Right.
I was like, oh,
nope.
jump. Yeah, so I thought that's funny. But then the other fun aspect of it too is you got to remember Tom Hardy's essentially talking to himself because he's doing the voice. But I think that speaks to his versatility as an actor too, to be able to do that. Because you got to think he's been Bane. Mm-hmm. I think he did Bane pretty well. And he's doing Venom. He was in not Furiosa, Mad Max. Mm-hmm. He was Mad Max, another good movie. I think he does Crazy pretty well. He does crazy characters, the chaotic type of crazy, not psychological insanity.
Right.
I think he does well on that. So I'm looking to see that. What are your guys' thoughts?
I agree with everything you said there, Kage, and we talked about this off mic about Venom. I want Venom to have more of a serious take on the live action front. I think
Want
he's
that
too
R
more.
rating.
He's too much of a comedian now. Even in the Spider-Man animated series, he wasn't this much of a comedian. But I get it. I will praise them for, implementing the fact that you have Tom Hardy and you have Venom the symbiote, and there's a duality there where, like you said, you have the human aspect and then you have Venom. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool how they show that on screen. They've been really fortunate with being able to depict that, and that goes into the writing. Not that these are the best written movies ever, but they figured out a way to display that in live action form. So the first Venom, $100 million budget, made a box office of $856 million. So that was a
Definitely
massive hit. And the second Venom, where they do introduce Woody Harrelson as Carnage in this film, $110 million budget, $506 million box office. So you lost some money off the top there, but still a successful film. And this film is sitting at a budget of $110 million. They have found a way to keep these budgets lean, which is helping Sony. I think Venom is going to go down as one of the more successful franchises. Sony hasn't been doing too well lately outside of Spider-Man, which we haven't had since about 2021, 2022. But Venom is doing well. I don't know if I'm going to watch this film. Not really. So the thing is, like you said, I haven't seen the second Venom film, right? It didn't really grab me. I saw the first one. I did like the first one. Decent C+ film. Didn't watch the second one. I kind of took issue to the casting and other things with the film. But with this film, it looks like it's coming to an end here, or at least they're alluding to it. So the trailer has a lot of emotional points, a lot of dialogue between Venom and Eddie, talking about what's going on and how this thing is going to end. Then they introduce Null, who is like basically the symbiote god, into the trailer as well, into this film. So we'll see what angle they take with that. I've heard rumors that they're trying to finally have that Spider-Man and Venom crossover where Null is involved in that. So we will see how they do that in this film. Watching the trailer, obviously, it is a lot going on. I can say that. Even being familiar with the Venom films, watching that trailer, it looked like, wow, this is kind of like a mess because it's a lot of things going on. It's not a lot of context behind these things. So I think it is going to be action-packed. I think it's going to be entertaining and a fun time. One thing I do think that is going to help this film, which we haven't talked about on or off mic, is the fact that it is coming out basically the weekend before Halloween. So I think this is really going to help Venom as far as that goes. I think this film will probably make about $500 to $600 million again, like the second one did, specifically if they try to close out the chapter on Tom Hardy's Venom. But then again, if these rumors are true, with a crossover with Spider-Man, you can't stop doing these films with Tom Hardy. Yeah, there might not be standalone Venom films, but Tom Hardy is going to have to continue to be Venom when you cross over with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But we will have to see what happens with that. Buttons, how do you feel about Venom?
So I didn't know this, but I guess I'm the only one who's actually seen the second Venom. I watched the first Venom in theaters, and to be honest, when the first film came out, I wasn't truly super excited about it. I went because a bunch of other friends were going, so we were like, all right, let's go watch it. And to be honest, they don't have a lot of draw for me, the Venom movies. But one of the things that I really enjoyed, and of course, Neff mentioned that they made his character very kind of goofy as far as symbiote Venom. He's got a lot of comic relief to him. He's kind of edgy, crazy, or just kind of like I mentioned before, where, he has no morals, so he doesn't think with the same thought process as Brock would, in terms of like, you can't just do that. Like, there's rules, society, whatever. And he's all like, screw society, and so it's interesting to see him fight with himself over that. So that play between the two characters, and in the second one, you see more of that. So it's a nice combination because yes, he is talking to himself, but you have to think of it with the respect of they're sharing the same body. And they have to have this symbiosis, obviously, but, they are at odds sometimes where they're like, yes, no, and fighting with yourself or arguing with yourself, like the idea behind, that is very interesting and funny when they do the scenes like that. So For that respect, I did enjoy these movies. The third one, to me, they're interested. It's interesting to see that they're adding in, oh, now there's going to be a bunch of symbiotes that are coming to Earth and like invading or going to try and take over or whatever. So in that respect, you're like, oh, things were on kind of more of a individual one bad guy kind of scale. Now it looks like it's going to be a much more...
The stakes are higher.
Yeah, the stakes are higher, and he's going to have so many enemies that he has to fight, and all of these different things are going to be happening at once. So it does make it seem like it's going to be this huge,
I mean, if you're going to end the trilogy...
But
supposedly.
To be fair, when they did this with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where they introduced in like a ton of villains and things like this, but at least with Venom 3, with this, they're all within the same realm of, what they are. They're not like, oh, here's this one weird mutant that needs its own backstory. Here's another weird mutant that needs its own backstory. Here's another one. It's like, oh no, they're all the same.
Like, I think it's
grouping.
fitting that they're giving the symbiote God, like on the last one. I'm like, go out on a high note. Hopefully,
Right.
We don't know what this is going to do. But.
And to be fair, they did tease a little bit at the end of the Spider-Man where you see Venom and Brock sitting down and having a conversation like, oh yeah, we've been hearing about this guy, like maybe we should go visit or see him or whatever, because like Venom makes a comment about it's all like, yeah, let's go find out about this Spider-Man or whatever. And this was obviously after Peter Parker had been revealed as being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So they tie it into what's been happening at the same time, even though they're like, I think they were randomly like in Hawaii or something, somewhere tropical.
I think this could be a marketing trick where it's like, oh, The Last Dance, but it's really not The Last Dance. And then he has all these villains he has to fight against. Even though Venom is an anti-hero, he has these villains that he has to fight against, but he's by himself. It's like, no, I think he's going to get help somewhere.
Right,
in this film.
and that's where we're
With
like
God,
sitting in this.
he's going to have to.
Yeah, we're
But
sitting
who
in
is
this
it gonna
realm
be?
of conjecture right now, where it's like I think everybody would be excited to see it, but we don't know for sure if they're going to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think you're going to get some draw, especially early on in the box, in the release for this, for people to go see it, to see if they actually did it, and then if they do it, I think you're going to have huge numbers because I think everybody's then going to want to see that.
You think there's
just
any
like
chance
with-
of any Spider-Man crossover in this film or anything alluding to Peter Parker again, like you said at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah,
Do you think there's
there's
anything
gonna
like
be,
that?
I think
I'm
there's gonna
hoping.
be something. I'm hoping for it. Even if I don't think he's gonna be a big part of the movie, like, all the other Peter Parkers and the other Spider-Man movie, but I do think that he's gonna make an appearance.
You think they're dangling the carrot with Null as well, where he might not even be in the film more than 10 minutes, but it's kind of like, oh, he sees Brock get through all the symbiote different variants that come to Earth trying to attack Earth, and then he's kind of like, okay, I'll get my get back later at another time, and then kind of disappear.
What, you think they're
almost
gonna-
like a Thanos?
I was just about to
character.
say that. So you think you're going to pull a Thanos, like they're going to show like an after
He's
credits
just
of
introduced.
The only thing that's going to be tough about that, now it makes sense if there's no crossover into the
Right.
MCU, but if they keep it fully on Sony, you'll be fine. If you try to cross over into the MCU, then you have to try to figure out, okay, how is this going to tie in with Doctor Doom? It's too much. So you got to try to figure out if you're going to keep those segregated.
Yeah.
But
That's
it would
a
be
good
cool.
point.
I think if they were ever going to try and tie them in, they have to get him tied with Spider-Man first.
Have to.
They have to. And I, like I said, again, it would be interesting, but with Sony owning the rights to this and MC now, being part of Disney, you've got that conflict that's been there since, Spider-Man
Yeah.
was reintroduced to the MCU. So, I mean, but Sony, it's interesting because we were talking about Sony making money off of Venom. They made a lot of money off of Spider-Man. Venom is closely tied to Spider-Man. So, of course, it's interesting to look at it being like, why would you not want to tie it? Your two more successful or most
I
successful
was about to say,
current,
Almost makes too much
superheroes.
sense.
Yeah.
I think Sony needs this. Sony Pictures needs this.
Need to tie it
Well,
because,
no,
especially
they,
because Tom Holland is backing off of the MCU. Like he's
Well,
starting
also-
to, pull away from it.
But also too, Madam Web was so bad. They
Madam
need to
Web
make their
was
money.
so
They need to make their money
And
back.
this is going into our next topic. Glad you brought that up. Is Sony scared? Is that why they pushed back Kraven the Hunter? Kraven the Hunter was supposed to come out in August.
Yeah.
Kraven, so I
Now
will say
December,
this.
what do you think? I think the December date actually hurts Kraven, but I can see why they pushed it back. They're trying to circle the wagons, get their ducks in a row, make their money off Venom, so that leads into the hype for Kraven.
But
I feel like they could have released Kraven this month.
If they would have released it when they were supposed to,
was
it'd be
not a-
fine. It's going to do what it's going to do because I don't think this film is actually going. When I say this film, I'm talking about Venom 3: Last Dance.
Okay.
I don't think this is actually going to impact Kraven that much.
I don't think it would
I
have
got
either.
a really good question.
What you got, Kage?
I got a really good question, and this kind of makes me angry. Why in the hell is Venom PG-13, but Kraven gets to be rated R?
And it's a $130 million budget.
They threw more money at it. Yeah.
I promise
Odd.
you, Sony, if you would have made rated R Venom, oh my God, you would make so
But
much
Kraven
money.
does look like it is going to be a rated R film based off those
no,
trailers.
no, it is.
Definitely more violent.
And that was the thing. So when
Even
I
Venom's
first saw
not that violent.
when I first saw Craven,
Carnage, it should have been.
Should have been.
Well, right.
They messed that up.
but when I first saw the previews for Craven, I was thinking it was going to be PG-13. It didn't look that dark. It looked more of a lighthearted. It was giving me like it's going to be along the same lines of the action and the storyline of very similar to Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, he's out here in the wilderness. Like he's got a family that he's got to go back and avenge or whatever.
It's a retribution story.
Yeah. Like his dad was a piece of trash and now he has to rise back up and be like, But anyway, it was kind of reminding me of that, or maybe even Tarzan vibes. So looking at this, as far as Venom is, compares to Kraven, you're sitting there, you're going, okay, why is this? But honestly, I think the reason why Kraven is getting this R rated is because of how dark Morbius was. And I think with Kraven, they're trying to go that same dark route as Morbius. And now Morbius it was not successful in my opinion.
Morbius was rated R.
No, I don't know if Morbius was rated R. I just mean it was dark.
The tone.
The tone was dark. And I think they're trying to make Kraven dark, and by giving it that R rating, they can throw more of that violence and because he's not a gun person, you know what I mean? He's a
Knife.
up close knife, claws, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like it's more primal. So I think that's where it's going to
Good
get
word.
that R rating, is because there's going to be some very primal scenes where he's just hacking and slashing and that kind of thing.
But again,
It's
it
gonna
makes
be
me so pissed that they didn't do that.
I think
Venom
Kraven's
can
actually
turn
going to
into
be
weapons.
decent, but I think it's going to be one of those streamers where you
Yeah.
watch and you're like, oh, this is pretty good. But there were so many things that came before it that kind of made you look at it
And-
with a side eye that you didn't watch it in
And we
theater.
were talking
Yeah.
about the actor that they picked, because this was the same guy who
Aaron
was,
Taylor Johnson.
yeah, Quicksilver, or whatever his name was.
Yep.
And you haven't seen him since.
He was in. This is the
So
same.
he's in Nosferatu. He's in Bullet
What?
Train.
Well, no, but I meant in this type of role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And a superhero, because
Kick Ass.
yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, Kick-Ass.
I'm looking at his
now, Kick-Ass
filmography.
is, I will say this one, Kick-Ass, he was so awkward, and you're just like, what's going? And so
That's
he
the-
definitely had this fun glow up moment where you're like, oh, okay, he actually aged really well. He kept up with himself, and now he's coming back, and like you said, you're like, okay, we can believe him actually being this tough, badass character.
He is.
Not the awkward teen that he was in Kick-Ass.
He's doing pretty good. I'm looking at his filmography, and I did not realize
He's
how
been in
many.
as much things that he has. I know, because he's been one of those
He's-
kind of under the radar actors. Like you see him pop up, but he's not.
So-
So for him in this movie, I think this is a big push for his career, because he's in the spotlight in this movie.
Leading again.
Yeah, leading and
Again.
Well, exactly. And so I mean, this is going to be a make or break, I think, for him.
Dang.
Like if he does well with this, I think it's going to really propel his career forward a lot.
So
and it's not to say that he hasn't been getting jobs and he hasn't been doing things. It's just like in this realm as the main superhero lead, like people get into this and it's like, dude, this makes your, like, you are, you know, like, look at what it did for like Chris Evans. You are Captain America. Robert Downey Jr. You are Iron Man.
I think I think they're also going to be implementing some other characters as well from Sonyverse and Spider-Man. I think the Rhino is going to be in this as well.
Yeah,
so
I
we're
believe
actually
I
going to
did
get
see
a
some teaser for that.
different Rhino this time around.
So this, so Aaron Taylor Johnson, just to name off some movies here, many of them I've seen or at least heard of, or we've talked about. He's going to be in Kraven. He's in Bullet Train. He's in both Kick-Ass movies. He was in Fall Guy. Wow.
Yep.
What else?
He
was
played
in
a bit of a jerk in that one.
Avengers: Age of Ultron. He's going to be in Nosferatu, like Neff said. 28 years later. Wow. He was in the Godzilla movies. He was in Tenet. Okay.
He was in Godzilla 2014.
Yep. He was in The Kingsman.
Yep.
Wow.
He was in Tenet. Small role.
28
Yeah,
days.
his role in
He was
briefing them.
Kingsman
Yeah,
wasn't that
he's-
big, but he was in it. You know, so.
I think it's safe to say he's well established as
Oh,
a
for sure,
action
dude.
star. Action
Yeah.
star. Like, I don't want to say
He's probably one of
typecasting.
those underrated ones, kind of like
Well,
McAvoy.
Exactly. Like he's in all of them, but he's not the main draw.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, and I mean in the Kick-Ass movies, yes, he's one of the main characters and everything. But you know, again, when you see him pop up, you don't really think of him as leading man material.
No, he's got decent range,
Whoa,
great support.
Wait a minute. He was in, so according to what I'm looking at here, he was in 28 Days Later and he's in 28 Years Later.
Go back and watch
So
that.
Yeah, he's the so in the first one, there's like the group that find him, and he ends up dying early on. Like he was one of the guys who finds God, I can't remember his name, but like
Killian?
yeah, yeah, because remember it's like him, the whatever the chick was, and they find him, and they're like hiding in the mall.
Kage is
and
going to
then-
have to brush up.
Yeah,
He's
you
forgotten.
gotta wa- he-
I have.
I was
forgotten.
just talking about
Like,
28.
bad.
I was just
It's
talking
like-
about 28 Years Later the other day. Danny
You
Boyle
know
says
what?
he's going to be shooting a lot of scenes on an iPhone 15. I think it's going to add to the grit of the film.
You gotta. I mean, how old is he? Because I mean, he's
I want to say he's late 30s.
yeah, like
Well, he doesn't age, so he looks the same.
That's what I'm saying,
Like
you
he looks
look at
jacked
him-
in Kraven,
yeah.
but
Well, he's been jacked since Kick-Ass, really.
Wow. So yeah, let's see what Kraven the Hunter does. That is a December release. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to do based off that December release. We've talked about this before in episodes. Releasing films matters. But I do think, I don't necessarily think that Venom is going to have an impact on Kraven, but I understand why Sony swapped around those release dates. What do you guys think Kraven's going to do? $130 million budget. I think this thing's going to make maybe $120 million tops. I don't think it's going to be successful. I just don't
Really?
think people are invested enough in the character.
so I'll be
Which
honest.
is sad. Because I mean, I think they put enough money and production
I think it's
into
probably going
this.
to be
I
a
think
decent
it's gonna be a
film.
decent
I just
film.
don't know if it's going to do well because the audience has to feel. And then you got to think, it's December. People are buying Christmas gifts.
Well, not only
They're
that,
not going to watch
not only that
R-rated
is-
movies.
Not only that, is I do think like when
Okay.
you're looking at this type of movie, we've mentioned this before, superhero movies are on the out. Like they're
Telling
on
you they
the-
should have just left it in August.
They're on the decline,
Yep.
and I think that's what's going to hurt this movie the most is people are like, oh, they're going to introduce a new character, like we're over the superhero characters, and this one is not even like a traditional superhero. He's like this weird animal man. He's almost like He-Man. You're like sitting there, you're like, okay, when is he gonna like have a talking, animal come up to him and be all like,
Right.
dude, we gotta go do some shit. Like, let's go.
Yeah, let's rock.
Like that's like you look at it and you kind of sit there almost expecting that's what's going to end up happening with
Yeah,
this. And I mean the Tarzan that they did, Legend of Tarzan, that movie was wildly successful. But again, it was one of those movies where it was just out of left field. Like nobody was looking for another Tarzan movie, but it worked. And you've got a lot of big names and in that movie. And this one, you're like, I don't know who the hell Kraven is. I know who Tarzan is, but I think that's what people are going to kind of look at this and
You
go,
got to
I
be
don't know
real
who
deep
this
into the
is.
comics for that
Yeah.
one. But yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about the Penguin a little bit. So
Yeah.
I watched the Penguin first episode premiered
Same.
on the 19th. Thought the episode was great. Colin Farrell, Really underrated actor, man. Colin Farrell's been around for a long time. You don't really need to speak much on him. You know what he brings to the table. But him as the Penguin, he's really showing his range on another level with this show. I would call it almost the Sopranos of the new Batman from 2022. It's a really good spinoff. It starts out a week after the events of the Batman 2022 film, and it kind of just follows Penguin's Penguin storyline after the events of that film. But you got Kristen Milioti in there, Sophia Falcone, Clancy Brown as Salvatore Maroni. You have a great cast here. This is really cool. The tone is about the same as Batman 2022. The themes are obviously the same. It really looks like there's no differences in the way it is shot compared to the Batman of 2022. So I really did like the first episode. I believe this series is going to be 8 episodes long. It's going to be airing from September 19th all the way into about November 8th. So I'm very happy about the first episode. I kind of expected this. The quality is about the same as the Batman 2022. Obviously, this is a TV show. There are things that are slightly different, but overall, this is holding up, and I am very excited to see the rest of this series. Kage, what do you think about episode 1?
I loved it. I loved it.
Yep.
It was a lot better than I expected. I enjoyed the Batman movie, and that was unexpected too, because not ashamed to admit this, I was like, Robert Pattinson as Batman, I don't know, but I was pleasantly
I was
surprised.
like one of the only people in Buttons knows that she can attest to this, because we talked about all the way in 2017, not to age us, we talked about Batman vs. Superman when they brought Ben Affleck on, and then when Batman 22 was announced and they announced that Robert Pattinson was coming on as Batman, I was telling her that I thought this was a great pickup for that film. So continue.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's strange. I haven't seen the Batman since I saw it in theaters, but the first 30, I'm not even 30 minutes. It kind of sets it up. The episode sets it up for you and tells you this is what just happened, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, oh, it was like flipping on a switch. I just suddenly remembered. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm back. So it's really great. If you've already seen that movie, I don't care if you haven't seen it since the theaters like I have, I promise you it will get you up to date, and it sets up the scene, sets up the story for this episode. The Penguin is, like all of the Batman villains, is a very intricate character, well deserving to have his story told. Dark, gritty, it's serious, it's not fantastical, like not throwing shade at Danny DeVito riding in on a duck and having the
Don't hate on my penguin.
Very comic bookish.
He was the
that's Tim
penguin
Burton.
from my childhood.
he was the Penguin of my childhood as well. Trust me, I'm not dogging him one bit, but it was nice to see that dark
The fish, yeah.
gritty- yeah, the fish. He ate a raw fish. Yeah, we don't have that anymore. Oh yeah, the weird hands.
Yeah, his little flipper hands.
He goes, I was born like this. My parents discarded me because I look like this. But all the people loved him. Nobody loves the Penguin in this one. He is a low down, dirty criminal trying to capitalize on things going on in the city, all thanks to Batman and the Riddler. If you haven't seen that Batman, please go see it. Please go see it before you watch this. It is so good.
There was only one continuity error that I want to bring up, and
Oh.
it could just be, hey, it's not a big deal, or it is a big deal.
All right, lay it on us now.
So either the Penguin loves Maseratis, or I'm supposed to forget that his car got crashed on the highway in the Batman 2022. How does he have another one?
He likes those.
I mean, he's got...
Either he has another Maserati, or that crash didn't happen on the highway. But anyway, that's the only thing I noticed. I was like, oh, Maserati again. I don't remember it being purple in the Batman 22, but I remember he crashed a Maserati. So
Yeah.
he must have a thing for those.
So I'm just going to chalk it up to, hey, he's a rich criminal.
Yeah.
He's got cars.
Maserati.
He has cars.
He's got another one to go.
He either has one to go or he
His
killed a few
insurance
people
claim
and he
allowed
got
him
it.
to-
Yeah, great episode. You guys need to watch that, The Penguin. It's going to be one of the better TV shows. I'm not even really big into TV shows because I don't watch much TV. I'm more into just watching movies and stuff like that. But I can say this show is really good. So watch that. Hopefully Dune Prophecy can follow up with this quality in November. I really hope. I hope there's no drop off.
We'll talk about that more in future episodes. We got a lot of shows coming out to really, and I think it's good timing too, because we just talked about September, October kind of being a little dry.
Now we got some balance
cinematically.
with television.
So we got some balance with television. So if you're,
what do you rate this first episode, Kage? Especially after not watching Batman since it came out, because I've probably seen that movie 4 or 5 times.
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Solid. I'll give it an 8 to start.
I really enjoyed myself. Like, and you gotta understand too.
No.
When I watch streaming shows, I'm not gonna lie, folks. Sometimes I'm multitasking. I'm on my phone. I'll have it on my TV,
It's
of
in the
course,
background.
and it's in the background
you
and stuff.
engaged.
But this was so engaged that I put the phone down. I put down what I was doing. I'm like, okay, what are they cooking here? Like,
Gotta pay attention.
What are they paying attention? Because I can hear what you're saying. I hear what the scene is playing on. I'm like, okay, let's see. Oh, damn, he's dark.
Right. I
It's
also told
dark and
Kage they're
gritty.
really
I love
opening up the world of this new Batman, the new Gotham universe. So I'm glad they're actually having these spin-off series. Let's see if they can continue this. James Gunn, please let these guys continue making this Batman, whatever you want to
Yes.
call it, Elseworld, your
Yes.
DCEU, doesn't matter. Let these guys keep doing this because
Let 'em
this
cook.
Batman that you have right now is going to be saving DC if Superman flops. So let these guys
good
do what
point.
they need to do. Batman might be the only thing you have left. So let them continue to do what they're doing on their end. Yeah, so you got a 9, I got an 8. Excited for the next episode, episode 2 of The Penguin of 8. I believe it's going to be premiering on Thursday night.
Thursday.
I think episode 2 is Thursday night.
I thought
I think it's going to be an episode every week.
I thought it was Sunday.
Maybe it could be. I don't actually.
mean,
now
I'm
that I
all-
think about it, yeah, it has to be this week sometime. I thought it might have been Thursday because the first one came out Thursday, but you might be correct. That gives us 8 episodes, so it's about 2 months, which would end in about November. So I think there's going to be an episode next week, which is really all that matters. Guys, be paying attention for that. The Penguin is on Max right now. Go watch that.
Yes.
What do we got? Films that should have dropped in Halloween this year.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of a couple films that would have did better in Halloween if they would have released in October?
I mean-
I'm gonna say TFO, The First Omen.
Yeah, that definitely would have been a good one for Halloween. I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, at the beginning of the year, we saw Night Swim. I don't think that this one would have made a difference being in Halloween. It was kind of, it didn't really matter where they could drop that. But
I watched it again,
we
and I
talked
couldn't
about-
even finish it.
Really?
We talked about Nosferatu. Maybe this one should have been bumped forward to Halloween
Yep.
versus a December release.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think, you know, vampires. I mean, that's quintessential
The-
Halloween.
The
That's,
movie
you know,
would do so well. October, Halloween, spooky season would do so well in this month. It would do so well for this movie.
I mean,
Yeah, I can just think of First Omen, Nosferatu. What else? October. I
mean,
think
we were even
Venom
talking
October is
about-
perfect. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
Venom. I think Sony did a good job of putting Venom in October.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense right before Halloween. I'm trying to think of another one that we saw that could have been in October that I just would have felt would have been a lot better.
Borderlands, because it was so scary.
Uh-uh,
Scary
it was-
bad.
Yeah, it was
scary bad.
terribly
bad.
scary.
Hey-oh.
Let me think.
Well, no, if we're going to go there, then
Alien.
Argyle needs to be on Halloween.
Alien in October.
I don't
Nah,
think
they
it,
had
I
a
don't
good
think it would have
date.
made. I don't think it would have.
It
made
wouldn't
a
have made it.
difference.
I think the August date was
But
good
I will
because they
say
had that
this.
block of no competition.
Yeah, I will say this though for Romulus, you know, speaking to other people who went and saw it later or you know saw it when it came out.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I will say I was not the only one
Oh.
who had the same. Okay, I was not the only one jumping at the same scenes. All right.
really?
I mean, it might be that I was in league with like the 13-year-old, you know, kids, but they jumped too. All right, so that's going to be my own personal defense on that.
Don't feel so bad.
Exactly.
I was
so
in it.
I mean, there's
It
there's
did what it was
definitely-
made for.
Yeah, it definitely did what it needed to do. You know, if you're talking about wanting to see a horror movie or something that's going to give you the scare, was it overarchingly like you're going to have bad dreams going to sleep after this? No, but it's going to scare you in the moment. You're going to be caught up into it, and it's going to jump. You know, you're going to get the jump scare out of it. Which I think movies that are more based off of that, they don't have to fall in Halloween. But you know, your Freddy's, your Jasons, your
Yeah.
Pinhead.
We haven't had any of
stuff
that
is-
lately.
I mean,
I don't think.
I mean,
I
there's
think
no
they're too
Saw.
scared to do something like that nowadays.
Saw doesn't need to be a Halloween release. I mean, that You don't really need that.
They can kind of put those out whenever.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, as far as the movies that I think are going to benefit or would have benefited the most, I mean, the only one that really jumps to me as far as should have been is maybe Nosferatu. So I feel like that one
I think
should be
if that
coming
movie
earlier.
does bad, it's going to be because of
Because
that.
of the release.
Review-wise, it'll have good reviews,
Yeah, but
but
that
in
just
terms
the
of
time.
sales, no. It's
Yeah.
not, no one's going to see that.
Wow. Favorite Halloween films, guys?
Oh, man,
Ooh.
so many. Like, are we
Let's
talking
hear
about,
their list.
we're talking about, like, nostalgia, or are we talking about, like...
Anything.
Anything,
Because,
dude.
like,
Anything.
me, like, the ones that I tend
Give
to
us, like,
watch
4 or
again,
5.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
the ones that I tend to
only
always
have,
come
like,
back
one,
around
but-
to at Halloween are going to be your, like, Nightmare Before Christmas, Casper, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Like, those ones are always, like, I come back to them around
You know
Halloween
what?
time.
That wasn't even in
Beetlejuice
mine.
as well, but you know, I kind of try and jump around sometimes. So it's like if I watched it last year, I'll switch to something
Show
else.
some love somewhere else.
We have some debates, but always around this time of year, I get the itch for Harry Potter.
Oh, really?
I can
Witches
see
and
that.
Wizards.
Harry Potter's very fall type.
It's very fall,
Yeah.
yeah. So you kind of like, even though they're not
Heck yeah.
Halloween, you're like witches and wizards. That's
Yeah.
Halloween.
No, that's totally okay. Totally okay.
Yeah, so and most of those movies have a very fall feel to them as well.
Some of the TV networks, I believe, and I remember this used to be on TV, I don't know if it is, but it was called Chiller Channel, and that was a really cool channel, which was themed around scary horror stuff
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the time. So I'd watch
Yeah.
Tales of the Crypt on that, Tales from the Dark Side. But they had, they would have a whole themed month out for Halloween, so every night there'd be
Oh,
a
there was
horror
like
flick.
30 nights
And I think
of
that's on,
Halloween kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about
For
that.
ABC would usually do
Yeah,
it.
there's the Classic Movies channel on the
CW
lower
would do
channels.
it.
Yeah, like there's like Classic Movie channel, and so they'll have those themes where they have a horror movie on every day. So that's cool.
Young Frankenstein's another one that's a good Halloween. You know, I mean, if you're looking for the comedy element of it, you know, that one that definitely, and then of course Frankenweenie or Coraline even, you know, those kind of fall within those.
Good choice.
Halloween, Edward
choice.
Scissorhands. I mean, there's
Great choice.
There's
Good
a ton
list.
of like. If you're going, if you want a horror movie, they're out there. If you want a comedy or a family movie, like I think those are the kind of ones that I kind of lean more towards wanting to watch around Halloween, just because it's like I can watch a scary movie, but obviously, like last year, I think I went through the Conjuring movies, so I was like, hey, this sounds good. Let's go through the Conjuring movies, or even. Like Insidious, those movies. So, I mean, of course, then you've got like your classics, like your
You
old
got
school
classics.
Poltergeist. Like,
Yeah.
man, that one is like one of my, like, that one's like unlock all kinds of childhood memories. Even like It. Like,
Yeah.
that's another one, like Halloween. I mean, you could go on and on and on for like all kinds
I mean,
of
the
movies that you
80s
could
and
watch.
90s were in their prime in terms
Action
of
packed
Halloween
with
movies.
those. What do you
Yeah.
got, Kage? Any interesting films? Kind of like what Button said here.
She said she definitely listed some of them. I think one big one that she didn't mention was Cabin in the Woods. That
Cabin in
one's
the
it has
Woods.
action, it has horror, but it has a nice balance of comedy in there
Mm-hmm.
to really prevent it from going full bore dark. It's
Yeah.
got Chris Hemsworth in it.
Yeah.
And it's like they're messing with stuff in a basement, and it's almost like, I don't want to say a parody of a what's the movie you like, Neff? Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's another good Halloween
Yeah,
movie if you're
yeah.
feeling up to a Halloween kind of scare.
Yeah, because it's like
you know?
people going into a cabin in the woods and stuff pops off, but it's kind of not
You
a
ever
game
see Cabin
show.
Fever?
I'm not.
Okay, so that one's like a
one's
twisted.
crazy,
That one's a twisted one. Oh, even
Early
the Crazies.
2000s,
Do
right?
you remember the Crazies? So I mean, like I said, you can
House
just
of
go
a Thousand
on.
Corpses.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, Texas Chainsaw.
Well-
Hills Have Eyes.
So-
I mean, there's tons of them out there. You could, like I said, if you're depending on what your mood is, you're gonna be able to find all kinds of
For the
really.
season.
So
decent, yeah.
I'm into the paranormal horror. So this is my
Paranormal Activity or
sure.
That type of theme.
Yeah.
Those-
Well,
like Oculus.
ooh, Oculus is a good
Very
It's a
good
really
one.
good movie that
Underrated.
people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Oculus is a good one. Dead Silence is a big one, directed by James Wan.
Are you looking for like the Grudge or the Ring or any of
Yeah,
those type of
I
movies
like
as
those.
well?
Both of
Ju-on.
those. Both of those are. That was a weird one.
That was very.
That was a weird one. Don't have sex. Either that thing or Jason Voorhees will find you, because teenagers having sex is very,
Doing a
very
sequel
bad.
to that.
Oh, are they?
Called They Follow.
Well, if we have Smile
too,
too, it's to be expected that we're gonna have an invisible monster. But
it's
Smile
been a
did it
while
better.
since
Smile
they
did it better.
It Follows. It's been a while. That's been a
Like
pretty big gap.
2015.
Yeah, something like that. That's a pretty big gap between those two. Whereas Smile and Smile 2 are only a couple years apart. So.
But I
I'll throw
think
in a
it's
television series, Goosebumps.
Yeah.
What about Are You Afraid of the Dark?
both
I
of
was gonna say
those.
that
I watched
next.
both of those.
Those two right there.
Heck yeah.
Those two right there were standouts.
Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
And
I'm
sorry.
gonna watch Goosebumps if it's on any streaming service every day of October if I
Ooh,
can.
nice.
But they have to give me the availability. If I don't have the availability, it was on Netflix. They had like every season on Netflix.
I do
Then I
know-
looked again and it was only season one.
Ooh, do you remember we watched Fear Street? Like, do you remember
Yep.
that? That's a Netflix series, guys.
Yep.
It is one of those ones. Is it the best
Good
movie
quality.
ever? No, but it's solid. It's solid. And I think the only one, Neff, I don't think you watched the
The
very
third
last
one,
one.
but the first
yeah.
two are great.
Yeah, the first two.
Netflix.
I really liked the second one. I thought that one was very interesting. That one had the chick from Stranger Things in it. I can't remember the actress's name, but yeah, she was in the second Fear Street one as like a younger version of a character from the first movie. But it's so reminiscent of like the Jason and movies because they're at camp, so they got the summer camp vibes, and it's it's set in the 80s or whatever, so it's very like right up your alley.
Teenage slasher.
I just
Yeah.
want to say this, two little things here based on what we just said. For those of you, young and old, if you are curious about Goosebumps, if you weren't alive when that came out, or you were, this is for you. All 5 seasons are on Netflix right now.
Okay, there you
But,
go.
but, not to leave anybody out, if you want to watch Are You Afraid of the Dark, that is on Amazon Prime
And Paramount.
Yeah,
and Paramount.
so that's a
Um,
Nickelodeon.
yeah,
series
and-
right
and
I'm gonna
there.
watch Haunted Mask 1
And I
and
think
Haunted Mask 2.
Yeah.
I think they rebooted Are You Afraid of the Dark a couple years ago too. I didn't watch any of the new stuff.
I'll stick to the 90s.
Yeah, you stick to the 90s version.
Yes.
Like that creepy.
You know what? I
Gave me
watched.
chills.
I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I
I binged some of it on Prime, and it just unlocked so many memories. And I'm like, man, I remember like Snick. Remember
Yeah.
that, y'all?
Yeah.
Snick.
Snick at night.
Snick. Yeah.
Snick at night.
I would sit there and watch, and they would have all their goofy shows, all that, and then they would capstone it. They would end it with Are You Afraid of the Dark? And man, I would watch that. And I watched the episode that scared the hell out of me back then.
The pool.
He knows it.
Yeah.
The Dead Man's Float. Man, when you see that red thing, like skeletal thing. Now, I'm an adult. I know it's not real. I know it's not real. 10-year-old me did not. I knew at 10 years old, I knew that was not real. But the fact that I couldn't tell where the real ended and the prosthetic, I couldn't tell.
We don't have those type of TV shows anymore for
We
the kids
don't.
and the teenagers. We don't, and it's a sad thing. I'm definitely going to be watching. I'm glad you really got us that information. That was great information on where to find these shows. So anybody out there that was
Yeah.
interested, if we kind of brought you back to throwback, gave you a flashback of those shows we used to watch, those are going to be available. Thank you, Kage. I'm going to watch Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
There you go.
There's also, if you're again thinking about some other ghost movies, you've got 13 Ghosts. That's always a good
how
one.
did I forget that? Yeah.
And then of course House on
There's-
Haunted Hill. So
Oh.
I mean, you've got some good ghost movies
So-
out there. If you're looking for something more intense than Casper.
First off, Casper from 1994 with Christina Ricci and Bill Pullman, that was legendary.
Exactly. That was like
that
a
gives me
very rewatchable movie and it still holds up.
yes,
I watched
absolutely.
it last year. It still holds
it
up.
has so much heart, that film. Like, it has the comedy, it has the darkness to it. But then by the time, and it even has some awe moments in there
Yeah.
too. Like it just has something for everybody, and it's one
got
that
all
I
the
go back.
feels.
It definitely has all the feels. Like what is it? Casper eating breakfast, but it was dessert on the plates. He got dessert for his uncles, and they're sitting there horfing it, and he's going
just-
down there,
yes.
and it's just piling on the floor. It just goes
Yeah.
through them. He goes, "What are you doing?" "We're cleaning. We have company." "Well, company loves misery," and he turns into a Nike shoe. Boom, boom, and he kicks. I was like, that was cool.
I mean, he's straining the orange juice through his hand, and then like grabs all the pulp and throws it against the wall. Like there's so many fun little practical effects that they
Yeah.
added into that movie.
Yeah.
That was
to,
so.
you know,
it
to
was
make it
so
We
just
got to
good.
figure out how to get back to that in cinema.
Yeah.
I think that might be time capsule. That whole decade, amazing decade.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for this episode. That was a great episode, and we will be talking more about a lot of these topics in October. Halloween's going to be a big topic for us next month. Obviously, it is the month of Halloween coming up. We're going to be talking about Venom 3's box office results, and we'll talk about Kraven once we get to December. But thank you guys for listening to the Popcorn Square podcast once again. Go watch The Penguin.
Yes.
Get ready for Halloween, guys. Let us know what you think down in the comments about this episode and the topics that we spoke on today. I'm Neff signing off with
Buttons.
and
Kage.
like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, share with a friend, and be safe.